I was going to ask you, Mark, you guys did some gigs with Fozzy, right? Chris Jericho's band?
¿Se portó bien el vato o no?
Yeah, no, he's really, really cool, man.
How was that? Was he nice to you guys,
yes.
or what was that all about?
Yes, he was. You know, and then you kind of get intimidated by a personality like that. You know what I mean? Especially a wrestling personality.
Yeah, he's famous.
But yeah, no, many times, man. Many times, we would cross paths on tour because we toured with them.
What kind of venues were you touring at? Were they small bars or were they like small venues, like Far Convention Center or
with
what?
Fozzy, yeah.
I wouldn't say as big as Far Convention Center. Let's take it down, maybe half of Far Convention Center.
Okay.
There were clubs, maybe 500-600 cap clubs.
Okay.
They weren't like small key clubs or anything like that. But they were pretty decent sized venues. But every time, man, every time we'd cross paths, he didn't really hang. But he would say, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" And he'd stop, small talk, and "Oh, I gotta go," and just cool guy, man. Yeah, I think it's Richard, the guitar player, phenomenal guitar player. He hung out a couple times. He's really, really down to earth kind of dude. I think it's Richard. If I'm not, it's Rich. Yeah, man. It's something like that.
Which one of the bands that you all played with were real jerks, dude?
And on the opposite end, hey, who was real badass with you? Where you want to say, you know what, thank you. So let's flip the coin.
Yeah, well, All That Remains is really they've been they kind of gave us the stamp of approval from the very get-go, man. Like we had just recorded our debut record in L.A. with Josh Wilbur and Phil Labonte. I don't know how. I think it caught wind. Oh yeah. He caught wind of our record of us because All That Remains recorded with Josh Wilbur right after Sons of Texas, back when. And so he got onto an interview with Jamie Josta from Hatebreed.
Yeah,
he's got his own podcast.
And he produced Dee Snider's album.
Really?
Yeah.
Jamie Josta?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's got a studio up in New York or somewhere, Boston somewhere.
I Am the Hurricane?
One? He recorded all. And he actually gave Dee Snider from Twisted Sister that element of music.
Yeah, because Dee Snider didn't want to sound 80s, so he went to that guy.
Yeah, and it's a great album. Wow. Yeah. There's a song where he mentions name title.
All the
Over the Mountain, and he says
An
Slayer.
Angel of Death.
Like
For the Love of
titles.
For the Love of Metal.
For the Love of Metal.
Yeah, For the Love of Metal.
I once was under the blade. I was once the last in line. I was a victim of changes. You can't stop rock and roll. It is my life. For the love of metal. For the love of metal.
So like metal titles.
Yeah, all metal titles.
Yeah, they're all metal titles, dude. And Jamie Josta produced that album, man. But I got to see Hatebreed with Down, and it was at an Ozfest, and they were great, dude.
I've heard so much about Hatebreed. Never been able to see them, but yeah, man. He's got his podcast. He's got Phil Labonte featuring, and Phil Labonte says, yeah, and then he plugs Sons of Texas. You ever heard of Sons of Texas? Jamie Josta's like, no, I've never heard of it. He's like, dude, incredible band. That singer, oh man, like just blew it up, man. And I was like, wow. It gave me chills, man.
Yeah,
and that was the very first I guess snippet of because we hadn't been our first record hadn't been released yet, so we were still kind of underground. No one knew about us yet. So yeah, All That Remains, awesome guys. Hell yeah, awesome dudes.
Rest in peace, Vinny, man.
Rest in peace, Vinny Paul, man.
Yeah, and the Mudvayne guy was with him too, right?
Chad Gray.
So you got to meet one of your heroes there, bro.
Two of my heroes, man. Vinny Paul, Chad Gray.
Wow.
And were they cool with you? Like, hey,
So Vinny Paul was, he did have that. He had the decency, at least the decency, to say hi, what's up, man, and he'd pass us by, and the infamous, come on, man. But that was it. He was very to himself, very to himself. But Chad Gray, I actually got to like chat. It's so weird, man. I got to actually like hang out with the guy for a couple minutes every now and again, maybe about 3 or 4 times on the entire tour. And the whole time I'm talking to this guy, I'm like, dude, because I'm thinking about the records, the countless hours I listened to him, and tried to hone in on that guttural scream and Oh God. But yeah, man.
I wanted to ask you, Mark Morton from Lamb of God, how did he reach out to you? How did that happen? How did that unfold where he's reaching out to you specifically? What happened there?
So Josh Wilbur, our former producer, is well known as Lamb of God's producer. He's done their last, 6 records, something like that. It's been a while. Maybe for the past 10 years or so. So when Mark, naturally he would come to Josh and said, "Hey, I got all these songs, man. I want to make a solo record," and Josh was all for it, man. So when they started like kind of picking and choosing vocalists, they went through so many vocalists, and Josh kind of had the idea of like, "Hey, man, like, this kid's not very well known, man, but I'd really like for you to listen to this kid," So he put some of the Sons of Texas stuff on, and I don't know if he like played some of my like vocal takes like solo and just, Josh always told me, he's like, "Man, there's very little editing I've got to do with your voice. Like, you're just, and he's always kind of like, he's always been just, I guess, blown away by like vocal performances, that I'm able to do just naturally. And so I guess, he really convinced Mark Morton. And so, yeah, dude, I get this phone call one day. We were actually on tour. In 2016, we were on tour in Europe and UK. And Josh Wilbur reached out and he goes, "Hey, would you ever consider singing on Mark Morton's solo record?" I was like, "What?" On cloud 9, man. And I was like, "Dude, yes, of course. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah." And that was it. That was the preliminary talks, And then the next year came about. They started recording it. And yeah, man. Like I ended up singing actually I recorded 2 tracks on that Anesthetic record. But I guess with the label and Josh and Mark, they all kind of decided, well, it is Mark Morton's first debut like solo record. Why doesn't he have a jab at singing a song, singing one of his own songs? So I was initially on a song called Imaginary Days, and they ended up recording him on the vocals. And, he didn't do too bad. Didn't do too bad at all, man. But yeah, I was on the initial Imaginary Days. But you'll find me on the song called Blur.
It's just a phase in time, it will subside. Inevitably take my place along the line.
What did you learn from being with him, man?
Shit, man. I mean, so much, dude. So much, man.
But the main thing you came out learning from that experience with Mark Morton.
Well, dude, he's taught me a lot, man. But I think one of the biggest things is that he kind of, I don't want to say called me out on my drinking, but he really did tell me, he's like, "Look, man, people pay money to come out here, and we want to give them, their very best." And not that I've never given my very best, but there has been times where I performed totally inebriated. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not fun, and it's not fun to see, because it's, they'll put it on YouTube, social media, and you got to see that for fucking ever,
Yeah.
So it's not fun to see. So our very first show for touring that record was in Richmond, Virginia, right? This was 2019. I don't know, I'd say March of last year. And I was nervous as hell, man. I was about to perform for one of my idols, Mark Morton, perform with him. There was also Doc Coyle on guitars. He's from Bad Wolves.
Mm-hmm. Good band.
Yeah, great band, man. And also Art Cruz on drums. He plays drums for Lamb. And also, much love to Nick. Nick Villarreal played bass in that band. So anyway, I got pretty inebriated, needless to say. Randy Bly from Lamb of God was there. He came out because he was also featured on that record, so he was gonna sing that one song with me, So I'm surrounded by these just class A rock stars, and I just, one cocktail led to another. I'm like, and I'm pretty smashed by the time I go up on stage, And according to the crowd, I killed it, according to them. But the next day, I don't even know where it was, Philly, I think. I remember Mark Morton pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey man, I just want to say, thank you for doing this. You're incredible. You're an incredible singer and incredibly talented." He goes, "But let's kind of gauge the buzz."
Wow.
So and that's kind of what I picked up from it, man. I'm like, okay, maybe an hour before the set, I could have my first cocktail or whatever the hell.
Have you ever tried performing without a cocktail?
Yes, yeah, I have. There's been times where I've been sick, and yeah, man, yeah, I've done it, and I can do it. I guess with the booze, you kind of just loosen up, man.
A lot of times it comes hand in hand. Yeah,
yeah, it does, man.
And so, what happened after that? After Mark Morton told you,
if the chief says to gauge your buzz, you gauge your goddamn buzz.
He was very diplomatic. I have to admit, that's a very nice way of putting it. Because he could have been, completely different.
But from an addict himself, he goes, look, I know, I feel you, bro, and I love this guy so much, man. He's helped me out so much. He's been there. And I've only known the guy for maybe going on 3 years, something like that. But yeah, after that, I did. I waited till maybe an hour before set. I had a cocktail, and by the time we get on the stage, I'm on my second. So I'm not, I guess I'm barely catching a buzz, but I'm having fun doing it, and yeah. But that was it, man. That was it.
And he's still in recovery.
Yeah, I mean,
Mark.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Morton.
So he's, I think he had some pretty heavy drug use for the past, maybe 10, 12 years or whatever. He kicked that, and then, but he was still drinking. He was still drinking for a little while, but then he kicked that. So I think he's been bone sober for about 2 years now.
Usually the alcohol takes you back to those other harder drugs.
Yeah, I guess that's what he was saying, was that he goes, look, alcohol wasn't really his drug of choice. He goes, whatever, I could booze here and there. But he did mention that it was
a gateway.
The gateway to where it lowered the inhibitions, and he'd be like, oh, well, fuck it,
Yeah, it's crazy because it's so prevalent amongst musicians and creators and artists, drugs, alcohol, pills. And then you have issues like Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell and all these artists and it's been happening since the dawn of rock and roll, dude. We were just talking about Jim Morrison, whose birthday was December 8th. We were talking on a previous show about him, and then also in the December 8th was the Razzle Dingley. Hanoi Rocks drummer that was killed with Vince Neil driving inebriated.
Really? Yeah. On December 8th?
They were both drunk.
And also on December. Dimebag.
Yep.
Those guys used to party a lot, but
John Lennon
was
December assassinated
8th as well, too.
Holy shit.
So a lot of crazy things on December 8th, but
wow.
A lot of, and then Jim Morrison, when I was reading up on his death, he died like 2 weeks after Janis and Jimi Hendrix. I mean, it was a very close time that all these artists died from drug overdoses, and
wow,
and you still see it. And nowadays, and back then it was probably pills as well too, man.
Yeah, they would do a lot of quaaludes, and they would pop them when they were drinking.
What's that about? I mean, I've heard of.
It's a downer, It's like it calms you down. It's like smoking a joint, I guess, but a little heavier, maybe. Wow. I don't know, but. Well, weed kind of like it's different for people. Some people get energized and want to go cut the yard. Some people just want to chill and watch TV and eat a pizza.
And some people freak out like yours truly.
Yeah, dude, I was like that. I'd smoke a joint and like, la estoy cagando, vato. You know what I mean? So
I would start to panic. I would have panic attacks.
I would panic about all my responsibilities that I had, dude. So I said, you know what? I need to stop doing this shit. So then I started doing heavier drugs. But that's the past.
You went the opposite direction.
Hey, I had to reach rock bottom in order for me to say, you know what, I'm done with this. So I can, I can relate with Mark Morton and all these other guys. And when you're on the road and you're constantly inebriated or on some sort of mind-altering substance, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you guys on the road, dude. Being on the road and having, driving in the mountains with glowing disc brakes and stuff, brake discs, It's dangerous if there's any drugs involved. Then you get pulled over, and there's
legal issues.
Yeah, and there's just so much bullshit that comes with it.
Yeah.
But it was to the point where when I was on stage, I couldn't perform. I didn't know how to perform without being fucked up, bro. You know what I mean? So when I got out of rehab, I didn't get on stage with anything, and I wasn't doing any band stuff. I was doing stand-up comedy, MCing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then one day, Raymond Horta, we had a morning show, and he asked me, "Hey, we're gonna have a comedy show. You want to host it?" And I'm like, "Shit, I don't know, bro," because I thought to myself, I don't know how to fucking perform without being fucked up, or being buzzed.
I see.
So, I told my wife, let's go, I'll go ahead and do it, since it's just right in between comedians. It's not like a whole 30-minute set
I see.
that I'm capable of doing. I mean, I've been up to an hour of comedy shit. But so I went up there, I started out, and I had everybody in stitches, dude. And I got off sweating, and I sat next to my wife, and I looked at her, and I said, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. I went up there, and I did it without being on anything.
Yeah, there's a real sense of like being like pretty proud, man. Like pretty proud of yourself.
And a little freedom as well.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
like, okay, I don't need to go back there now.
Yeah.
I can do the next one and just take a little bite at a time,
Yes.
But
sure.
but man, I mean, I haven't looked back ever since. And then we started the band and stuff like that. So it's baby
Is it
steps.
hard though sometimes? Like, like I guess.
Well, I was telling my wife one time, because I don't go to bars, dude, unless I got to perform, right?
Yeah.
And one time, my wife, we had family down, and we went to go see them at that Fast Eddie's, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm there, and they're selling O'Doul's. So, I got a couple of O'Doul's, and it's a pool hall.
Yeah.
And everybody's drinking, and they're talking, and they got their beer, and her sister's drinking a glass of beer with a straw, and I'm playing pool, and I lose, and then I lose, and, then I win, and then I win, and then I win, and then I win. And I'm like, hell yeah, man.
I'm on a roll.
I'm on a roll, man. This is me old school, man, at the bar, hanging out, drinking, and, I had O'Doul's, right? So then I went, the guy was playing against, it's his turn, so I'm standing right here, and I look down, and my sister-in-law walked away, and the glass of beer was there with a straw. And I look at it, and I go, man, I thought to myself, I could take a swig out of that straw right now. Nobody will even know. Nobody will even know. And I looked at it again, and I said, hey, Rock, you're up. Oh, shit. So I went, and I stood by the pool table, and I looked at the pool table, and I told myself, what the fuck is your problem, you dumbass? The fuck are you going to fuck up all your recovery for a freaking swig?
And how long have you been recovered at that point?
It was about 10 years, babe. 11,
10 years?
9 years. It was like 9 years.
It was less than 10 years.
It was like 9 years, 8 or 9 years.
That's a long time. I would have thought maybe it was like 2 years, 3 years after.
Yeah, so I'm there watching the pool game, playing pool, and I'm having and I have tattoos right here. I have a little devil and a little angel, and they were both working double time with me, bro. And I finally, I started playing, and I forgot about it, I got myself out of it.
Yeah,
and so
just
then,
to get yourself out of that element.
Yeah,
right?
so then, we all ended, and me and the wife, we went to Taco Palenque, and I'm sitting there, and I look at her, and I tell her, can I be honest with you? And she looks at me like, what? And I'm like,
what did you do?
I had thoughts of grabbing your sister's beer and drinking it. And she was like, what? I'm like, I'm just letting you know, because I'm never out of the woods, but I'm just letting you know. But I was able to, fight it off. And she goes, well, we'll never go to bars again. It's like, no, that's not the issue. I was able to catch it.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, man. Yeah. You got to be able to catch it.
Yeah, man.
You got to be able to catch yourself. And the only way you can catch yourself is by being honest with myself,
Yeah.
And I was honest with myself by telling myself in front of that pool table, what the fuck is your problem, dude? You're not going to screw this up over one swig. So it's a daily thing, bro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand where Mark Morton, this guy, he's on, and all the other recoveries, especially recoveries that have to be in the bars performing.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have to be really strong and have a really strong program under your belt in order to be able to go in there, do your thing, and get the hell out.
Yeah, for sure.
None of this cavorting. And if you get tequila shots, put them all up over here or call, hey, everybody, free tequila shots, and give them away, dude.
Yeah.
But don't, and it's always good to have somebody there to, make sure to police you sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Especially at the
that's key.
beginning. At the beginning, my wife doesn't drink. She's my godsend, bro. You know what I mean? So,
Really?
yeah, so.
So you don't drink at all?
At all.
No, we used to drink together.
Yeah.
I mean, we did. I mean, we did for a little while.
Okay,
But
so,
then-
so both of you just
but then
stopped.
I got out of hand, and when I got out of hand, she didn't know where I was. I get lost, dude.
Wow.
With my drugs and alcohol, but
that's cool that she joined you in that effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a collaborative.
she was
effort,
never
man.
a drinker, and I'm a binger, man. I'm hardcore, dude. I mean, I'd probably scare you if we partied together back in the day. You'd probably be in a coma or
Oh
something.
my goodness.
I'm serious. Charlie would have exploded or dissolved.
Yeah. I would have liquefied.
Yeah, he would have
Dissolved.
liquefied. Yeah, like that Terminator 2 movie.
Like you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark where the guy just melts?
That would
have been
that
me.
would have been him. Exactly.
I would have been like,
dude.
asústame one time.
Yeah. The German guy when he opens
Yeah. His mouth and his jaw,
my
his
God.
mandible claw,
Yeah.
jaw just falls down.
because he opens that thing, right? What is
Yeah.
it? La Lost Ark.
Oh, the Covenant. Yeah.
And Charlie, you don't. Yeah, do you?
I don't
do you
drink.
use
I'm
it?
the reverse. I'm very chill, and then if I drink, I'm like in a coma. I immediately go to sleep. So I don't drink at all. That's never been an issue.
Really?
I do other things.
Oh my God.